A big news day as we're here in Greenville, South Carolina. The president traveling to New York, going to Ground Zero, meeting with 9/11 families, and as you saw there, talking to first responders, as well as some economic news, dismal economic news out today. As you take a look at this graphic about this as Democrats and Republicans try to come to some agreement on the big deal you just heard from Representative Ryan. Let's bring in our panel, which is also the panel of questioners tonight at the debate. Chris Wallace, host of Fox News Sunday, Fox News correspondent and anchor Shannon Bream, and Juan Williams, columnist with The Hill and Fox News political analyst. Are we ready?
Mm-hmm. You bet, boss.
Hey, Juan, today for the president, what about this and the political implications of this visit to New York?
America kept its promise, and that we don't forget, and we can get off the mat, and we can avenge that kind of injustice.
You know, Shannon, there are some out there that are saying this is a tough environment for Republican candidates, this week in particular, to be answering questions heading into this campaign. We've been working on them all day. Mm-hmm. People are saying, you know, the big names aren't here. There are some names who have been around the country campaigning already who will be here at this debate.
I'll give you one case study. I was in all of the debates that Fox did in 2008, Mike Huckabee. There was nobody in the original debate, in the original couple of debates, who was more of a fringe candidate, more of a second-tier candidate than Mike Huckabee. And after every debate, not only we on the panel, but I think the political class, and I think a lot of Republican voters said, hey, he's a pretty impressive guy, and suddenly he vaulted from the second tier to the first tier.
Do you regret those statements? Did you change your position? Would you support those techniques now? I think the president owes the American people that explanation or clarification.
Or at least give President Bush some of the credit,
right?
You know, about these issues. You know, because we're not going to have the success in the future.
I met
otherwise.
with President Bush once in the White House towards the end of his term, and the race was unsettled between Senator McCain and Senator Obama at the time. President Bush said, I don't care who gets in here, when they know what I know, they will do about what I did.
Yeah. What do you think as you look at the weaknesses? I thought this was an interesting point. Where are the greatest weaknesses, if you were to win the nomination, that you see with President Obama, and how would he be defeated?
His economic policies are a disaster, and his worldview about the role of government as it relates to job providers and growing jobs in this country is ridiculous. The number one thing I hear, Sean, around this country when I talk to people about what it would take to provide more jobs, they say, get the government off my back. And this president is putting more of the government on their back, and they're discouraged. It's too expensive, too slow, and the like.
Let me ask, as we move forward on economic issues, you support tax cuts.
Yes, I do.
How would you balance the budget for the federal government? And then begin the process of paying off $14+ trillion of debt, which is only going to be higher now soon?
Well, the main thing, there are many things we have to do, but I governed a very liberal state. I had the first government shutdown in 150 years. I set a record for vetoes. I unallotted more money using executive authority in my 8 years than all the other 140-some years of governors combined. So you got to draw lines in the sand. But it does lead substantially to reforming entitlement programs. We have to look the American people in the eye, tell them what we're going to do, and it includes this. We have to raise the retirement age for Social Security for new entrants into the program. Don't scare the people who are already on the program.
How do you define a new entrant?
Anybody who's not yet contributing to Social Security. So people who are coming into the workforce at age 16, 17, 18, that retirement age will raise gradually over time. I think we have to means test, for example, Sean, the COLA, not the whole program. So if you're wealthy, you're not going to get as big of a cost of living adjustment in the future as if you're middle income or lower middle income. We got to get into the meat of this. It's urgent. And there are similar answers, by the way, for Medicaid and Medicare. But those are examples of proposals we can get a majority of the country to support. And we need to fix this problem and use this debt ceiling debate as an opportunity to force the issue.
Let me go to an issue that's concerned me, and it's about what I describe as the hypersensitivity of the White House as it relates to Islamic extremists. We didn't use the word war. They didn't use the word war on terror for a long time. Mirandizing enemy combatants on the battlefield is another issue that I take issue with. And you look at, for example, do you think they should A, release the photos? You said yes tonight.
Yes.
B, what did you think of the funeral that took place, where we're told that bin Laden is not a Muslim, he represents a perversion, a hijacking of Islam, and yet he got full Islamic custom, buried within 24 hours, body washed, put in a shroud, 40-minute ceremony on a warship, and it was even interpreted into Arabic. Was that a mistake?
Keep in mind, when you're dealing with terrorists and rogue actors, we're not dealing with the armies in uniform of established nations in battle. So these are folks who are rogue terrorists. They're outside of the bounds of even normal battle. And to suggest we have to extend them all these additional courtesies, you know, is something I think we should consider.
Do you think it was naive by the president? Do you think it was naive by the administration?
I think it was appropriate. I think they did the right thing in terms of sensitivities to say, look, we're going to try our best and make a good faith effort to bury him or to put him to rest in a way that's appropriate.
But isn't he one of the radical Islamists you were talking about tonight, and he doesn't represent mainstream Islam?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Muslims.
But you've got to also think about what is our strategic or tactical goal here. And what we want to do is try to minimize other people like him becoming inflamed or operationalizing against the United States. And if we would have buried him in a way that inflamed them or was disrespectful or inappropriate, that potentially could have put our men and women and our citizens in harm's way.
Governor, great to see you.
Okay,
It's great to get the ball rolling tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll hopefully be seeing you a lot on the road. Thanks for being with us. And coming up, we're going to have much more from Greenville, South Carolina tonight, the site of the first GOP presidential primary debate. We're going to get reaction from former Senator Rick Santorum, Herman Cain, Gary Johnson, Juan Williams, and much, much more. Plus, the president, he visits Ground Zero in the wake of Osama bin Laden's death. The great American panel is here with analysis as we continue from Greenville, South Carolina. It's Hannity on the road. Straight ahead. And welcome back to a special edition of Hannity. We are live tonight from the site of the first Republican presidential debate in Greenville, South Carolina. And tonight, on a great American panel, he is a columnist for the Wall Street Journal, John Fund. He's back with us, and he is a Democratic strategist, Fox News contributor, the one and only Joe Trippi, who wouldn't come and visit us. And he is a Fox News political analyst, Juan Williams, and he joins us. He was also one of the ones, I thought it was a very well-done debate. I thought the questions were fair, hard-hitting, fast-paced. I thought it moved well. I thought it was very revealing tonight.
You know, I thought was great was that last section where we asked about the people that weren't here, because they were getting a lot of attention.
Right.
But you know what? They have vulnerabilities, and to hear these candidates talk about them in that honest way, I thought told you something about the people who weren't here as well as the people who were here.
What do you think of Santorum's answer?
I like Santorum's answer on Newt Gingrich. It was a question that I asked, and I think it puts Santorum in an interesting position because he's a big social conservative. That is his calling card in this race. And he said, you know what, we all make mistakes, and in a very Christian way, something that I can relate to. He says, you know what, Newt Gingrich should keep plugging.
Yeah, you know, I thought that was pretty interesting. In your mind, being out there, was there any one person that you thought won the debate?
Well, now this is interesting because, remember, I come in with so many preconceived notions, so I'm not a good target audience. But being out there, I thought that Tim Pawlenty stood above the crowd. I mean, Tim Pawlenty looked to me like the adult on the stage. I thought Gary Johnson exceeded expectations. But I must tell you, the minute I was coming off, that Shannon Bream had her cell phone in her hand, and she says to me, you know what my dad said? I said, no, what'd your dad say? He said Herman Cain won this debate. Wow, interesting. And apparently a lot of Twitter, it's been going crazy on Twitter. Let me turn to John Fund. John, if you had to pick a winner, who would you pick?
I think there were 2.5 winners. I think Herman Cain is now the new hometown favored. He's a real businessman. I think that Donald Trump is going to be exposed as a carnival barker if he ever shows up on that stage. Herman Cain is now the flavor of the month. Tim Pawlenty, very good answers. I mean, he fessed up on climate change. I made a mistake. And I think Rick Santorum handled himself well. I thought Ron Paul and Gary Johnson, they held down their libertarian base, but I don't think they expanded it much. The loser here is Mitt Romney. I think in retrospect, he's probably disappointed that he didn't show up tonight.
Okay, what do you, we'll get your take, Mr. Trippi.
I think hands down Herman Cain won. I mean, he was the only one that wasn't a political insider in the whole thing, and I think that's where I thought Tim Pawlenty didn't do what he could have. He could have come in here with a narrative of I'm from outside Washington. I don't like the place. I think we've got to change it. I think here, and and really made the case for himself. He didn't come in to do that, and I think both he and Santorum missed an opportunity there. And I think Romney was the big loser. The problem is, how does Romney come in and be a political outsider where clearly people are craving that, and that's the tone that Herman Cain struck better than anybody on the stage tonight, and that's, again, why I think he won so handily.
Yeah. All right, let me ask all three of you the same question, and I'll start with you, Juan. Who would be the one Republican that Barack Obama would not want to run against? Who is the guy that he would fear the most, if any?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that it would be Chris Christie at this point. Chris Christie not only has the sense of being new, you just heard Joe said you want the outsider, and Chris Christie has that persona. But Chris Christie at the moment has
He's not running.
He's not running. You didn't ask me who was running. You said who is the one guy that he would fear.
All right.
And by the way, you know, it's interesting. As I said, I'm on the stage, and I thought Pawlenty did well. You heard from those two. They did not think Pawlenty did as well, and they both said they thought Romney was the big loser. I agree on that point. I just think the fact that he didn't show up, I think the fact that Gingrich didn't show up and is going to say he's going to announce in Georgia, it's a big loss, because you got to do name ID at this point. You got to convince people like Sean Hannity that you're in the game, that you're serious, and to not be here is a mistake.
I'm a little bit more forgiving because there are legitimate reasons why some people can't get here, and I don't.
What do you mean? Tell me why can't Gingrich be here?
If you have business transactions, commitments that you have made that you would not be able to fulfill because of federal regulations.
Like Trump and a.
Well, Trump, and that would be a good example with Celebrity Apprentice.
What's Romney's excuse?
Well, it's interesting. I don't know. If I was him, I would have been there.
That's why you heard John Fund say he thought Romney was.
No, but you know what? There's going to be plenty of debates. These guys are going to be here. But I agree with you. I think they all should have been here if they could have been. All right, let me go ask you guys the same question. John Fund, you're next.
Look, I believe that Mitt Romney did make a mistake in not being here, and I think that in the future, obviously we're going to see a whole range of different candidates here.
All right. And welcome back to the special post-debate edition of Hannity. That was former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum just moments ago at tonight's GOP presidential
I always like to stand here just when my wife gets to watch me at home to see that I'm busy.
Good to see you. We abandoned those issues. We give up on